how we change the world. Okay, so I guess to start off again, kind of quick about me. Um, I'm actually a product of New Me, which is kind of what this is kind of all about. Angela Benton is a mentor of mine. I went through a process just like you guys are going through now. I actually didn't have a company at all about 3 years ago. I was, literally sitting in the chair listening to her speak. And so kind of everything that you'll see here and everything that we've done has all been accomplished in the last 3 years. So it gives you a real sense of how fast things can get going after they get going. I also wasn't independently wealthy growing up or anything like that, so I wasn't able to start the company with $1 million or anything like that. I was a sole founder at first, just a backpack walking around, asking for meetings, trying to convince people to get behind me. And then slowly but surely I added a second employee and a third and a co-founder, and like eventually really got the company kind of going, but kind of step by step. And so you can accomplish a whole lot in a short amount of time. We're about 14 employees now. We are growing about 100 and maybe 120% year over year, every year. So after it gets going, it really kind of really gets rolling. To give you some sense of kind of the growth, 2 years ago, we had 5 customers total, and these are just 5 people that I went out and just convinced, right, by myself. Now we have 7,000 customers in that period of time. There's 12,000 customers on a waiting list. So we're just going to continue to kind of grow and grow and grow. But those first couple were very difficult, and you have to find some kind of really kind of inspirational leaders like Mr. Curry, who's willing to get behind an early idea. And then you can have to say, oh yeah, well, we do it for Tulsa. Then they go, oh, you're good. And then you can convince the second person, the third and the fourth. So we can get into that as well. So before I dig in too deep, I would like to get a little maybe audience participation. So I know it's a different breakout of employees of the company, right? There's some students, some entrepreneurs. Just to give a breakout of kind of who already has an idea that they're actively working on. If you could raise your hand. Okay. Who has an idea that they think is really good but haven't quite started yet? Couple. All right. A little bit of both. And who feels like they're an entrepreneur in their heart and wants to then develop an idea to get to that next kind of level? All three. I love it. Cool. All right, and then let's just have like a kind of yell out session here. So leaving here today, what are the things that I absolutely have to deliver to you to feel like you're successful? So let's just yell some things out. I'm going to call on people because I saw you raise your hands already. So I've got to start with you. What are the things you need to leave here today with that are going to really help you move forward? Like, what do you want to hear from me that'll really help you? What questions do you have? That kind of thing. What do you do? Oh, hold on. Maybe one more time with the mic.
Oh. Um, what do we actually need to do to get started with a good startup?
Excellent. And I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. Do you already have well, tell me about your idea first. Tell me about your idea. Yeah, that's right. We're going
The one I have
deep.
now?
Yeah. This is helpful for everybody, I promise.
So I would like to start a company where we organize things for people, so events but do the whole startup from beginning to end.
Yep.
So the customer doesn't have to, how do you call it, have a headache with the things to do, worry about the things to do. So that's.
So like end-to-end event management.
Yes.
For somebody. I talk to you, I pay you one check, you figure all the rest out for me. Excellent. And do you have a website or anything for that now?
No. And it's an idea that I didn't even start yet.
Awesome. So this is excellent start. So I'm going to start with, and I'll show you how this is going to go today. By the way, we'll get into this later. I'm a Mac person, so forgive me. It takes me a little while to manipulate Windows. Are you familiar with Squarespace? Huh? Yes. Some
No.
yeses, some
Go
nos.
explain.
This is
No.
going to be Squarespace is a ridiculously cheap site that does everything for you, right? And so they'll do the design. It's drag and drop, so you just drag images into it, and you can have a completely, fully working website where people can pay and everything, all done in literally maybe an hour or two. And it's really professional looking. So they have these great templates. So let's say you have a site that's kind of based on commerce. Let's see, which one looks like what you're saying? Cover pages. Oh, Squarespace? Yeah, oh, you can't see, I'm sorry. Yeah, Squarespace. So if you Google Squarespace, but I think it's just squarespace.com. Great website for, man, scrolling on a PC is like painful. All right. Yeah, let's see if I can find one that really calls out to me that says events. Oh, maybe something like this. So I can, this entire site, man, it's kind of small, but this entire site is already pre-built for you, right? So all you have to do is fill in your names, your addresses, your bank account information for them to send the money into, all your information, and then that's just, you can put in like your domain that you want to buy, they assign that to your site, and then it's just up. And so you say, go to my website, pay here, and then I'll work with you, because you're very professional look in a really short amount of time. They also do a lot of things like with SEO and things. So without you doing any additional work, what they'll do is there's these things called tags that are part of images and the text. Google tries to read your website to figure out what you do, and then it can show that website to people looking for what you're doing. There are things you can do to make it easier for Google to read and say, this image is of flowers for events. These words mean this, right? And so Squarespace does that all for you automatically. So when someone Googles event planning and they're here, yours will be one of the top 10 results automatically. And that'll just drive people into your account without you doing anything, because it did it for you. So I think for a lot of folks, this is a great way to start Squarespace.
Yes. Thank you.
Very welcome. Next person with a, oh, there you go. I'm gonna call. Oh, there you go. Thank you.
Well, I have an idea, and it's like being the mentor for. I'm already doing this, but not on a professional basis. So now, students just ask me to help them out to start their own startups. Since I'm working in a company where I have learned to do that, so I want to see how I can do it professionally, so I can help more people in setting up their startups. At the moment, I'm coaching 3 people, so they have an idea. I coach them how to do their marketing and their sales to get the product out there. But I want to know how I can do it professional and how I can do it so a greater group can benefit from it.
Absolutely. So one of the hardest types of businesses is where the entrepreneur is like the best person on the team, right? And so people come to you, they want to work with you. I mean, there's only so many hours in your day. Like, you have to eat, you have to sleep, right? And so how do you scale that and make more and more money? A couple different ways. One, provide as many online services as possible, because when you're doing that and you say, okay, have people send you questions or some of the more basic things, you can have yourself or other people behind the scenes responding to those things, and therefore it's kind of like what we call like a force multiplier, or it just makes you like 10 people, basically. Number 2, there's a thing that doctors do quite often that's very successful, where your very first consultation, you'll get to see the amazing Dr. Oz, right? And then every subsequent time, Dr. Oz will then transition you to like his best RN and say, hey, this person comes in with me, I trust them, I would trust them with my own care, my own family's care. They're going to be your single point of contact, but I'm always here for questions, and I'm always here kind of monitoring that person's work as well. And the way you incentivize people to do that is say, just so you know, I'm using US money. I'm $100 an hour, but this person is 80 or 70 or 60, and they're still going to do an amazing job for you, and I'll still be managing them. If you really feel like you need me, you can have me for $400. Or you can use this other person that works on my team very closely for 60. And then let them kind of self-select. And they'll feel like they're making a decision, and you're not kind of pushing them off. And of course, get a Squarespace page. It's beautiful, and that's good.
Thank you.
Yep. Go. I do. Thank you, sir. In the back. A man with a Mac. You've already winning. You've already won. You've already won.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here. And I appreciate everything you've taught us since yesterday evening.
Good to see you again.
Okay, thank you. I have an idea I'm already working on, but I have different target groups. Maybe I can say that tourists, it's like a tourist application, but you can also use it for educational purposes.
Yes.
My main concern is, should I target the educational purposes first, or should I target the tourists first? Because for educational purposes, I can use local people.
Yep.
But for the tourism sector, I have to go to hotels and talk to tourists and interest them in using the app.
Yes.
And eventually market the app online, so people from abroad can know that the app exists, and etc. etc. What is your how you say it?
Opinion.
Your advice or your opinion?
Yeah.
Advice and opinion
Yeah.
about those two sides. Who could I target first?
And the app hasn't launched yet, correct?
No, not
Okay,
yet.
Cool. And there's a process that we used to do a lot at Apple that helped us a lot, and I'm happy to share. And it's about customer development, right? And so first I would say launch, right? And then get a sense of who is more interested of the two groups. That's actually probably the best way. But if you need to get some answers before that, because you want to incorporate, should be like, more things for tourists into the design versus more things for locals into the design initially, so you really want to have a direction. There's an exercise you can do where you take a blank slate of paper and you just ask yourself, and actually have someone else ask you so that you're kind of removed from the process, and say, who is my ideal customer, right? And ask demographic questions. Are they male or female? I'm a feminist, so let's say female. How old are they? And let's just say that they're 24 to 28, right? How much, do they make? And you have some income amounts, right? And you just kind of give yourself what you think your target is. Now, if you actually had the customers, you would just look at your target demographics and figure out who they are. And then, so you do all this and you say, okay, this is who I think my perfect person, the person who's going to love my app the most, the person who's going to tweet about it, pay for it, whatever. And you say, okay, if this is my core person, is this person, how easy is it for me to find this person? If they're this person and they're a tourist, how easy is it for me to figure that out? If they're this person and they're a local, how easy is that for me to figure out? And I would suggest it's probably local, because then you could say, okay, this person also lives in these areas, and they work in these areas. And then after you know all these things about them, you also know, okay, based on what they live, work, read, Facebook, WhatsApp, you can then go, okay, I'm going to do Facebook ads for this demographic because I know they're on Facebook. I'm going to put an ad at a bus stop because I know they're riding these bus routes, right? After you know a lot about the person, you can then get into that person's mind and then, attack them. Attack's a bad word, reach them that way. And the other thing it allows you to do is this person who's your demographic, you'll meet here in the street and you'll say, oh, you look like you might be female, 24 to 28, blah, blah, blah. Would you use this? Do you like this, right? And their feedback is going to help you greatly in designing the product as well. So good exercise. Next question.
In Suriname, we don't have internet banking as working as you know it. And I want to, I'm busy with an application, mobile application for an online marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if you know any other options or things or plugins or whatever to make possible to pay.
Like commerce online when online banking isn't necessarily possible. There actually are a number of ways. So people have gotten really good at getting money from other people in a variety of different ways. Some economies, and I hear this a lot in Cuba, you could buy things online, but you actually send a payment. The payment's received, processed, and then things are sent to you in a very offline kind of process, but still you kind of discovered it at one of the few places you could get online. It's actually very common. A lot of times phone providers will actually provide an API that allows payment. So they can actually pay through their phone. The bill is actually paid through their phone bill, but the payment kind of gets routed to you that way, and they have APIs for that. So that's another kind of interesting way. There's also ways to do it with some of the providers that aren't here, but you can still use. So like things like PayPal, and even some Western Union capabilities, you can have them, like Western Union to a particular account, provide you with the transaction numbers and pay them back in a very offline kind of way, but you still got the money.
Yeah. I don't know for the target group that I want to do this because the online marketplace is going to be for agricultural products.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if it's going to work because some of the people who produce in the agricultural sector, they don't even maybe have a smartphone or whatever.
I would even offer I have a lot of experience in that area, particularly agriculture,
Mm-hmm.
U.S., but you'd be surprised. In rural areas of the U.S., they're not as on the internet-ish as other areas as well. It's very similar, very similar. Also, they tend to be an older demographic, so they're not as comfortable. So it's okay to have them place orders on your Squarespace site or whatever it is, but invoice them. Send them a paper invoice, have them return you a paper payment, and then send them the good or service. At the end of the day, you may have to hire a bookkeeper, but a bookkeeper is a lot less expensive than trying to figure out how to make e-commerce work in a particular demographic that it's not going to work for.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. I love the easy way. No, I just have a comment on it. I think we also need to investigate what the present options are. If we look at what's happening in telecommunications, we already have, I think it's called, I'm not sure about that, sitmikong, that people transfer a balance to another phone. And maybe that's an option, but then you have to work with a partner. And you can decide who that partner is.
No pressure.
I have a question regarding the case that Madam, if the people who are her customers don't have a smartphone, and if they are not do you still need a web shop, or should you consider additional ways to get to your audience as well?
I totally agree with meeting the customer where they are. So you have to go through this exercise to figure out, is that true or not, whether you use smartphones or not. And then we talked about smartphone penetration at lunch. So what's the smartphone penetration here in the country? 50%. So you got a 50-50 chance, it sounds like. So actually, I think you actually... Yeah, the geography. Yeah. So where are your customers, rural or urban?
Urban. Mine are urban, but I think hers are everywhere, right? Everywhere where we have people working in agriculture.
So I think the answer for you is different than the answer for you, right? It just depends on kind of where they are. It sounds like you probably have almost like a 70 or 80% chance in an urban area for a particular demographic versus probably only a 30% chance, which probably widens out to 50, right? In a rural area. But I think you have to, whatever your customers are doing, you've got to support that thing. So if that's answering the phone, just answering phone calls for them, then you have to do that if they're not on the web or smartphone. Or if they would prefer this type of strategy, you have to maybe do both even. It takes a lot of work to get money out of people's hands, you know. It really does. It's hard. Other questions? Okay. We've got some questions for you in this after this too.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to ask you a personal question. Did you ever start with an idea and the scope was maybe too large, then you had to look at it again and maybe downscale it?
Always.
But if your idea, if you specifically want that idea and the scope is big, but you still feel on your heart that that's what you want to do and you don't want to downgrade it, what should you do? Should you just work on it? Or should you say, no, this is not possible, or this in this time frame is not possible, maybe the other project? What would you do in such a situation?
This is where my answers get wildly inconsistent, okay? So, you know, here I am, I'm wearing a Do What You Love t-shirt, you know, do what you think is right. You're the ultimate North Star for your idea. Everything you're thinking in your heart is the right way to go. That said, entrepreneurs, because we are the people who want to do what we love and we think big and we see the final product. We see the final people using it, the revenue, it all makes sense, but there's so many incremental steps to getting there. So a great entrepreneur is both big picture, but also really, really focused on the details. And so there's a book that you have to read called Lean Startup by Eric Ries, if you're familiar with that. Lean Startup, yeah, by Eric Ries. I will attempt to use a PC again just for you. Eric Ries is like a personal friend of Angela's, by the way, so another kind of great thing. So yeah, it's got its own website. It's amazing. Lean Startup, I can't read it. The movement that is transforming how new products are built and launched. And so I'll let you read it. The overarching theory is if you're in the wedding business, right, and you want to make a bride and her groom-to-be an amazing wedding cake, instead of taking 40 eggs and 10 pounds of sugar and this and that and building an entire cake and having them taste it, say, okay, is this what you want? And they say no, you've now wasted 40 eggs, 10 pounds of sugar or whatever, right? 10 pounds, that's a lot of sugar. Really what you should do is make her a cupcake in the style that you would have, the whole thing's going to be. Yes, it's not a wedding cake, but it's the minimal viable product. It's the smallest, simplest version of what you're going to give her. Have her taste it. She loves it. Great. Now I can commit my resources, my time into building the whole thing out. But at least I know I'm on the right path. If I have her eat the whole big one and she hates it, I'm just out, you know? And so what you'll find is your ultimate idea will change along the way. And so by going incremental, it'll be better.
Okay. So what you're saying, I should start with, my project is, by the way, is a game. I want to make the first adventure game for our country. So what you're saying to me is that I should start with maybe a demo and let people play that.
Yes.
And review that if there are bugs in it, anything, and
Yes.
then get my reviews back, and then start with the actual product.
Exactly. I'll even go one further. Make the first level of the game, right?
Yeah.
Have people play it, fall in love with it. One, figure out who loves it the most. And that will help you in your marketing and your sales as you attack people, as you approach people this way. Such a bad thing. But two, you can even say, hey, this is a demo. The demo was free. If you want to play the rest, you can crowdfund me on the platform we talked about yesterday, which was
Apura Networks.
Apura Networks, right? And when I get to 10,000, I have all the rest of we'll open up all the other levels. We'll get them all done for you within a month or whatever the amount of time is.
Oh.
And then you get funding along the way. You know it's right because people are paying and saying, I like what you're doing, You have total market validation.
Okay. And another question, seeing as I'm making a game, a lot of stuff that's in the game, basically everything needs to be modeled, animated, everything. But to do that, people usually go to a special college, a special university, follow a course for that. And in Suriname, you don't have actual animators or 3D artists. What is your advice to get over that roadblock? Because that is one of the biggest issues with our development process.
It's tough. We talked a little bit last night about kind of having to a great entrepreneur works with what's available. We're in Miami. We're not in San Francisco, but I think we still do, really great work. And there's a difference between Miami and San Francisco. I mean, it's the States, but there's a big difference. So I would offer a couple things. One, whatever you can do to learn those resources here online, obviously you probably already do, continue to do that. But two, if you have to go somewhere to get a bit of training or a bit of learning for 6 months, whatever, do that. I don't think that I don't think any of us are saying that you have to stay here every minute of every day forever. It's like we just opened a new animation and gaming studio in Miami downtown at the community college. The community college is also the cheapest universities in the U.S. I think Miami-Dade College, is something like $8,000 a year. So for a semester, it's probably like $3,000 or something like that. So if you have to go somewhere, take those classes for 3 months, and come back with that knowledge. I think that's totally fine as well. Thank you.
I would like to give a tip to that gentleman over there.
Yes.
We are establishing the Suriname Animatienetwerk, and that's for animation. So you can contact them because the last week of October, we're going to Trinidad for a Caribbean Animation Festival. And there are a group of animators here in Suriname. And we're actually facilitating them in making an animation network and starting animation business in Suriname. So they're going to the festival in Trinidad to get inspired. And when they get back, they will also give workshops, etc. And we're looking for options to send people to Trinidad to learn more about this.
That's like boom, like drop the mic, just like, there it is.
No, just a tip for him. If he
It's
wants
a good
animation,
tip.
he can go there, or he can join the Suriname Animatienetwerk.
I'm going to let Mr. Curry ask his final questions in that time, but I will offer, this is exactly why we talk about sharing your idea as widely as possible, because people have these amazing release resources they can then feed back in. So tell as many people as you can about your idea for this very reason. So.
Thank you, Brian. Actually, the question I have is a question that I also posted yesterday evening, and that is, what is it that you're missing in the road that you're walking into your building your innovation? What is the value, what is the most value that you took out of this class, this workshop? What is it that you need? Is it money? Is it coaching? Is it networking? What do you think is what we're missing in the place you're working at your product, your service that you want to build, your business?
Well, I would say sessions like this with Brian, who has like very motivating answers, inspiring answers, and giving you insight in options that you haven't thought about. That gives me like a kick. Like, okay, I'm gonna go for, I'm gonna go further to the next level.
Do you think, because Brian lives in Miami and it takes more time to get him here and he also has to run his business over there, do you think we have people in Suriname who can run these sessions, maybe not at the level as Brian is doing, but, huh?
Maybe, I don't know. I haven't met them yet, but maybe Brian would be available. Maybe once every some months.
But let's start
in a
with
Skype
let's start with
session.
Suriname, and then we can maybe once in a while get Brian back here. But in the meantime, I think we have to work what we have easily available.
Well, maybe we have these people, but as Brian just said, we lack the contact with these people, and we don't hear the opportunities that there are because we lack giving each other the information.
How would you value an event like this, whereby young entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs come in, and we also invite successful business people?
Very highly. I value it very highly.
Okay.
I think
I think one thing that we maybe lack is that we are seeking for people that are in the same businesses as we are trying to open. This businesses that are in the same category, so that we can really get the right advice and so to start up our own. I think that's one thing that we are lacking.
I would suggest not only searching, and I would like to ask Brian also to give his reaction. I would suggest not only getting the people in the same direction, just get an audience that broadly, because sometimes you get a feedback that's maybe from a totally other sector, but still valuable for the business that you're in.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's certain parts of business are just business, best practice. I could certainly help you with those things, and then you can go deep with like a one-on-one session.
I think the question which Mr. Curry asked, in addition to inspiration, what we need, in addition to inspiration, we as entrepreneurs, we need the courage and believe in ourselves that we can do it, and believe that once we have fallen, it's okay, and we'll stand up and go further. So no fail is a big failure. You can just go further. And also believe that if the system isn't working with you, you can change or do something that you can change the system or do something without the system. But you have to believe, and you'll need the courage to do it. I think most people to whom I speak who wants to be an entrepreneur, these two things, loss and inspiration, these two things are still the things that we need. So yes, the sessions with other people who have bridged that gap will be very good.
But do you think that sessions like this, maybe without everybody else, just sharing information, sharing what you've done, sharing how you really stepped up to a problem or stepped over a problem, just sharing that information, don't you think that would be valuable?
Yes, I don't only think that, I have experienced it as well, and I think, you know it, I'm from Spamakandra, we share our knowledge, we are always in awareness events, and with that we try to inspire people, and if we see how many people have been inspired, that guy walking in just right now, inspired by us, I think it works. I know it works, so we need more of these.
Thank you. I think the thing that in Suriname we are lacking is mentoring. Mentoring is the thing we are lacking because there are a lot of beautiful people here, entrepreneurs, wanting to achieve something, but the lack to execute. We aren't able to execute because the knowledge we are lacking. And then, for example, to make an MVP, the technical knowledge, also to execute and to monitor hoe zeg je dat?
The progress?
Nee, dus als het kredietwaardig is.
Commercial value.
Ja. To measure it, that is a problem.
I mean, that's a tough one, though. I would offer, mentors can come in many ways, sometimes in person, but also it can be virtual, and you get the same kind of value. Programs like NUMI don't require any location, so you could do, she's great at MVPs and how to do that stuff. And I've met people during this trip that would be excellent mentors. Excellent. I mean, almost the entire time that we've been here. So I think that this country has a ton of mentors. I think connecting them is the job of kind of maybe some of the work that we need to do. But I think there are people here that can be a great mentor to you. They have a lot more money than me, I can tell you that.
Maybe as a suggestion that, let's say, once in a month we'll have an event at this location whereby we invite young entrepreneurs just to share their idea, maybe to go and stand up and tell what they are busy at working and what their problems are, and if there's anybody in the room can help, and also invite successful business people if they would like to come, and of course then you can be used also as mentors. So,
Well, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
thank you. Shannon, wat gebeurt er nu?
Ja, dus Ryan, zo.
Oké. Maar jullie begeleiden dingen dan.
How was the first session? Good? Good nuggets? All right. Well, hopefully we'll jump into the next step and provide a more enhanced perspective, something more practical. So what I would like to do is I'm going to pick on 3 persons. If I can get your attention, please. I'm going to pick on 3 persons, right? And what we'd like to do is explain your business, who you are, what you do, explain your business or your idea, some of the things that you're doing well, and it's been progressive, and some of the challenges you're facing, okay? So if you could provide that so that we can get to the core of the problem, that we can provide some solutions, and somebody in the audience can use that in their own way, because they have similar problems they're facing. That make sense? All right? I'm going to pick Musha because I think he has a really good idea, because I personally know about his idea. I want 2 more ladies. Well, I'll get one guy and a lady. A lady? Any ladies? Young lady in the back, and then the guy right here? Perfect. Musha, come on stage. 2 seconds, what you do, the business, the problem you're facing, the good, and then we'll take it from there. Please take notes.
Okay, thank you guys. Good morning. I'm Muse Afuma. I'm the CEO of The Share. And The Share, what The Share is doing, The Share is connecting people with social problems. For example, somebody that uses drugs can come to The Share and share their story anonymously and get reaction or answer to her or his problem. But that's not only what we're doing. We connect also these people with organizations. The organization, for example, Live the Volahande. They know how to help people with drugs, people that use drugs. So that's what I'm doing. I connect people with the solution. I connect people with support. But the problem right now I have is my platform is more in U.S. New York people are visiting China, Boston, but not Suriname. So my question is, how can I make the Suriname people know about this platform? Because it was meant for Suriname, but now it's going worldwide. So, so that's my question.
Yeah, that's a good problem to have. Okay. How many users do you have?
We have like now visitor is like 41.
Okay, 41 visitors to the site, 41,000. Okay. Big difference between 41 and 41,000. So I need you to make sure you differentiate that. Also, for folks that come up here, the founders that I work with, we give them 2 minutes to pitch. You guys have 1 minute because we only have 45 minutes. So do your kind of one-liner, which is describe what you're doing in 1 minute and ask your questions so that we can try to, because I know I want to do 3, but I want to do more than 3. And I'm trying to figure out how to do it. So that is great. So 40,000 are in the States, is what you said? They're all over the world. Okay, so your problem is that this is something that you wanted specifically for Suriname, so your issue is trying to get more folks on here. Honestly, I think you're gonna have to do grassroots. Like, you're gonna have to have flyers or whatever works here. You're gonna have to have ambassadors. You're gonna have to have people in the community. I don't know if there's local centers here that treat these kind of support problems, but one thing, I had a founder that was working on something similar, and their customer acquisition strategy was they basically developed partnerships with third-party support organizations. So, you know, the Department of Health, because they have centers, you know, around the states. But then also nonprofits who were working on, you know, this specific cause. So I think that's definitely your first step. Actually, it's kind of like a 2-tiered process is what you're gonna need to take. That's gonna be your first one, so developing partnerships, et cetera. That's gonna get you in front of the most amount of people without having to do a lot of the work. But then the second tier to your strategy is, I think, gonna be the one-to-one. So you're gonna have to figure out the communities here where, honestly, most of these people reside. So if there is, you know, a low-income, you know, area where maybe there are a lot of folks that are on drugs, your ambassadors are going to need to be in that area. I hope that helps. Okay.
I have a question regarding that case. He has a platform, and that's a website, and you have 41,000 visitors, and you say that from your analytics, you see that they come from America and all other places. just one thing to make sure, if the people who are visiting your websites, are they all encouraged to become a user? And do you promote this in Suriname, like on Facebook, doing Facebook ads, etc.?
Yes, what we are trying to do with this platform. So that's what we are doing. Like we are coming with topics for the people to let the people understand, guiding ways to let the people know that there is solution. There is solution possible, and that's what we're doing right now.
All right. I think it's a good suggestion. And before I give this gentleman some feedback, I also want to keep it short so that we can get to the next question. But I don't think your passion is Suriname, right? From a business standpoint, you have 500,000 people in Suriname. You have 40,000 people who are downloading your app outside of Suriname. I think from a business standpoint, a business model standpoint, why are we not focused on why are those 40,000 coming from those areas and developing those areas and have Suriname follow suit? Because you'll generate capital in order for you to do everything you need to do here. And
We haven't even talked about the business model. I assume that this was a nonprofit and support base. Is this nonprofit or for profit? So how are you going to make money? You should have led with that. So you still have to figure that out. Are you making money already? Okay. Okay, so how do you make money? Or how are you thinking about making money? Selling data or? Hmm. So referral fees from, how long have you been selling those? Have you tried to sell some of those and has it been working out? I don't know from a business model perspective if that's going to work. And I also don't know from a branding perspective if that's what you're going to want to do. Is you're helping people on one hand, but you're selling the data and you're essentially selling them to other people. That just doesn't feel right for me. So if it were my business, I would focus on doing what you're doing because you're doing something right. I mean, it's 41,000 people on there. If 41,000 people visited, 40,000 people converted over to be a member, that's a really high conversion rate. So you're doing something really great on that end, but you just have to figure out how to monetize it. If you've been floating this idea for a referral fee and nobody has signed up yet, then something's wrong with that. I don't think that's the way you're going to actually monetize this. But what you're doing is really powerful.
All right. I think that's really good feedback, too. We'll have one more tip, and then we'll move on.
I think a way also to target the Suriname people is to target the diaspora in the Netherlands. I mean, you have another 500,000. Keep in mind as well that the connection is still strong, so I would also target them as well, and that way you'll target Suriname as well, indirectly as well. So.
All right, and I'm gonna tell you, Miss Angela, she's gonna be very straight up with you. So it's good feedback. You want honest feedback, you're gonna get it. All right, we have our first young lady. 1 minute pitch. Go.
Okay, I have a website, suryouth.com. It's a youth magazine, an online youth magazine, where I'm trying to educate teenagers and young adults, and also guide them through lifestyle struggles and yeah, that sort of kind of things. I would want to know, how do I make money out of a magazine, an online magazine? Yeah, and just how do I do that?
Great question. We actually talked about this also in the car on the way over here. I am not familiar with how media businesses are run here. Now, is this a local magazine? Okay, so I'm not familiar how media businesses in general work here. If it's mainly advertising based. So Brian, we were talking about this in the car, he was watching TV and he saw a lot of ads, but they were mainly ads from the station that he was watching. So it's unclear to me if the business model is the same for media.
It's developing into it.
It's developing? So if that's the case, the problem with it developing is you don't know what it's going to develop into. You don't really know if it's going to develop into a similar model like what exists in the States, which is I have an online magazine or some kind of media platform. I'm basically selling the audience to advertisers. That's basically what it is. So you can kind of keep that in mind as one way it might go, but it might go a completely different way, and a totally different model might actually work for here. What I would try to do, and I did this with Black Web 2.0 early on, because we were a niche site, it was very hard to get a mass amount of people to the site. So we did still sell the audience, but we sold it as basically events. So what the advertiser or the sponsor was buying was really access to this kind of curated, forward-thinking type of customer. So we were able to do that, but in terms of selling online ads, that didn't work because we didn't have enough traffic to the site to actually do that. I mean, at our highest, we had, 500,000 people come. That's at the highest, but now you have sites, I mean, to be a successful site, you're in the millions, you know what I mean? So for here, you guys don't have that many people. So if you can basically just try to sell the audience at first until this business model develops among all media entities here, I think that would be a good start.
And
Seems like people are familiar with the sponsorship model here.
Yeah, the sponsorship model is very practical. And to add to that, one of the things that we do with Pi Data is, see, your magazine is designed for the end users to buy it and kind of look at it and be excited. It's going to be a digital or print? That's the first question. It's going to be all digital. Okay. So because it's all digital, you'll save a lot of cost on developing and printing on and getting it shipped to the end user. Now you have to figure out, how can I have users look at my digital print, right? People are selfish. They want what they want, right? So if I want to promote my magazine and I want to build it, I'm not going to go and say, hey, I have a magazine, I want to build it. You're going to get, oh yeah, your friend's going to support you, and they're going to be like, yeah, okay, right? But if I want to be successful, I go to John Doe, hey man, you have an amazing story, right? Don't you want to showcase it? And I will build that story, and I will promote him. If I'm promoting him, he will naturally want to share with his friends. Out of that, I will know him. He will naturally want to promote his friends, but I will also keep him along to say, hey, this story was really a situation and how it relates to this story. This marketing strategy will help you develop for them to be your marketing. Because they're going to say, come check it out. I'm on this magazine. Ryan Kapinski's face was in a magazine at Tallahassee 2.0. I would have never seen it if he wasn't so proud to share it, right?
Well, now you're talking about content strategy, so I don't totally agree with that. From an editorial perspective, you don't want to program all of your content that way. So you're going to need to mix it and blend it, and especially if this is news-worthy. I mean, I don't know a ton about your business, but you do need that content that's shareable, that's going to go viral, but you need to balance that with real editorial content.
What is editorial content?
News, basically, stuff that has nothing to do with marketing and more to do with the actual story.
Gotcha. All right. It's good feedback. See perspectives? That's good. You have a question? Come on.
I can't hear you.
I just wanted to add that you were suggesting that you don't know if it's possible. You don't know if it's possible in Suriname and how media works. Yes, we can promote websites through Google AdWords, and you can become a Google AdSense partner in order to gain money out of your online magazine. So if you can drive traffic to your website through like doing Facebook ads, offline promotion, being in the news in Suriname, or going to radio station and giving people advice or promoting your website, then you drive traffic to your website. And if you can show other companies that you have great traffic, they are willing to put a web advertisement on your website as well. So there are lots of possibilities.
So there's some emerging, I guess, models here to explore.
All right. We have the next business. Anybody else would? He's giving up his spot. Anybody else has a business, an idea? Nope. You guys are shy? Oh, my man in the back. And guys, we're going to give you honest feedback. She don't like it, she's going to say, if I don't like it, you're going to, this is how we work in the United States. And don't be afraid. That's what breeds champions, all right? So don't be afraid to have this interaction. No, if you get shut down, it's okay.
Yeah, I was saying at breakfast, while you're going to him, I was saying at breakfast, so the founders that come to our residential program, at the beginning of the program, they all love me. At the middle of the program, they all hate me. At the end of the program, they really hate me. But then after the program, they all love me again.
Okay, morning. I'm Aslan Kranenburg. I'm working on an app on the historic inner city of Paramaribo, which is on the list of UNESCO. My problem is with graphic design and photography and all those things. Should it be something done by the developer himself, or should he work together with other people to thinking about cost? Because if I ask other people to do that stuff for me, I will have to pay them.
Right.
But if I do it myself, then is it something to think about or to work on, or?
Sure. I think people are naturally inclined in certain areas. Some people are naturally inclined technically. You can pick that stuff up easier. It might be easier for them to learn how to code. Other folks might be more inclined from an artistic perspective or marketing perspective. So it's easy for them to market, or it's easy for them to create an image or take photos, etc. I think you need both. It's very, very rare that you get one person that can do everything well. So that's the first thing to take into consideration. Secondly, I really think it's about community. I mean, when I was very first, I have a design background, so when I was very first starting, we used to barter a lot. Like, you need this website built, I can design. Well, I need a website built. and we would barter projects to get stuff done. And so, you know, that's the importance of actually having a community, an ecosystem here, but if it's disconnected, you can't really barter services. So I wouldn't worry about, well, hopefully if everybody has our mindset with bartering, I wouldn't worry too much about having to pay someone. It's more about getting the right talent in the room, right? And everybody really just wanting to produce great work. It really has to be about the work. When you have too many people that are self-serving, it's not going to work. Really has to be about the work.
I had a similar problem. I'm not a coder. I'm not a designer, right? And what I do is I find good coders, and Angela will tell you that to find a really good coder is tough. You're going to have to go through a lot of fillers of, yeah, I can code, but they don't even know how to code, right? And design. So having the right talent is very important. So I would ask as an extension of this question is, how do you qualify the right talent when you're in a position to get, when you're looking for a new talent?
I'm glad you asked that, and I really wish I would have. There was so much to say last night, like not enough time, and I wish I would have been able to talk a little bit about this last night. Quality is so important, but I'm trying to think of a nice way to say this. As human beings, we naturally think that we're further along than we actually are, right? So you might have a designer or engineer, you know, they think they're super dope. They might be dope, but, you know, no one's really telling them that they're not. No friends, no family. And I have this problem with a lot of entrepreneurs that present ideas and pitch ideas. That's the reason why I'm so direct, because people need honest feedback. Because if you think what you're doing is dope and you don't get the honest feedback, you're gonna go talk to an investor, talk to a partner, talk to an advertiser, and think your stuff is on another level that it's not on. So really, that's why I'm so direct, is because I'm trying to prevent people from having that experience. And every ecosystem needs that. You need to have somebody who understands what quality is at a very high level. So in San Francisco, when we do our residential accelerators, we use all startups to facilitate the process. So we have a house, but as soon as they land in San Francisco, they're in an Uber or a Lyft. All the meals we order from Munchery, which is another startup that's there. The reason why we use these particular startups is so that they can get an understanding of how high of a level you have to execute to actually be successful. So hope that answers your question.
The moral to the story is, expose yourself, go out there and do it, and then you really realize where you're at, and then raise the roof. Any more questions, comments? I think you have a question? No? All right. So I'll post another question. I think you guys are shy, you know. Angela's a little bit direct, and, you know, I don't want to. First, guys, if I want to know something, I would be practical, right? And I would ask her questions. And she may, Sergio, that's crap. It's not worth it. And in Suriname, we see that and say, all right, and we'll sit down. In Silicon Valley in America, you develop a culture that when somebody shoots your idea down, if your idea is good enough and you know it, you will challenge it. So you will make sure that, hey, I think it's good. And then you will then try to solve the problem and say, why is she, it's good to take feedback, but all feedback is not good feedback, right? Because sometimes, like I said last night, you gotta know when to listen and when not to listen. So the first thing though, you have to accept the fact that you may not know everything. And somebody will provide you feedback. It might be constructive feedback. Listen and take it, but challenge it. Or if you feel like, you know, you have another question, challenge it. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to, you know, to get shut down. You learn from that, all right? So I think my man here has a feedback or a question.
Just want to pitch. I don't really have a question. I'm busy with something, and like Sergio told, asked us, just pitch it and listen what
Yeah,
feedback
let's
you
hear
have.
it.
Okay. I started a marketing platform. It's not online yet. The planning is to launch it the 25th of November. That's our Independence Day. Yeah, it's a marketing platform where advertisers send messages to people that sign up, and part of the money that the advertisers pay will go to the receivers of the messages. In that way,
So-
they get paid for being spammed or not private spam. They're asking for advertisement and getting paid for it.
You haven't launched yet, so I am interested in what you find out when you launch. I think some people might sign up for that because they'll look at this as a way for them to make money. That's basically a lazy way to make money. Are you familiar with WeChat? WeChat. Yeah, in China. So WeChat, your idea makes me think of WeChat a little bit, not from necessarily an advertising perspective, but their platform basically allows businesses or brands to provide customer service through this messaging app, kind of like a WhatsApp, but brands have accounts on there and you can follow different brands and connect with different brands. So it would be cool maybe to do something like that for this market, but then also add an advertising layer in there where you can push certain deals, out. Maybe if they act on the deal, they get some kind of additional incentive or something like that. I'm not sure about a pure, marketing channel though. But of course you have to launch it and see what happens. I could be totally wrong.
Thank you.
I think my man has one. Now, I have a question. I think it's going to be interesting. And I think it will have a lot of people in this room today that I'm realizing a similar problem.
Thank you. My name is Mark, and I would like to pitch my idea to you real quick and get the direct feedback from you. I want to launch a digital platform which connects two groups of people who are traveling worldwide and people who need something from the destination the person is traveling from or to. So you actually send something along with someone else. Now, we are living in the Caribbean, and you cannot send something along with someone else. So what I would like to develop within my app, by the way, the name is Booga Wooga, is that the person who needs the package pays a deposit to the app, and then afterwards, when the delivery is done, they have a double verification code, so the agreement is concealed, and then a part of the money is being transferred back to the person who initially paid with their own money to buy the parcel.
Sure. We talked last night. I think your idea is brilliant. I'm really, really actually interested in this idea. I keep losing my train of thought here.
I have a few problems with it. The transactional part of it, but you told me about the Braintree, and so I googled it already, and it's very promising. But the other problem I have is, will people actually do that?
I think this is what I love about your idea. I think this is being done already. You're just making it easier. That's what I like about it.
Exactly, because I'm getting stuck in my words. I'm sorry. Yes, the target is people living in diaspora.
Yeah.
People living in diaspora and expats that need things that you cannot buy online, because if I need something from Amazon coming out of Suriname, it's very difficult. I cannot do that. But if I have someone coming, they could buy it on Amazon, deliver it to me, double verify the code, and I'll pay them back. And then Booga Wooga would own a percentage of that. That's one of the the revenue streams?
So two things. I was actually so weird that I was actually coming here because I was telling Sergio, my brother-in-law is from Suriname, but I was at their house like before I came here, and it's this small town in Northern Virginia, and I was shipping something at the UPS store, and it was a woman in there trying to send something to the Netherlands. And she said, okay, well, what's the shipping cost? It was $60 to ship. And so she was like, never mind. So I think you're gonna have to figure out how you get the costs down, because even if you do, well, I guess actually if you do Amazon, all you really have to do is have one person that has an Amazon Prime account in order for it to get next day. So it could work, but you're gonna have to keep the cost down. Also, from a branding perspective, I don't know if there's a meaning to the name of your business, but I can't pronounce it. Booga Ooga? Okay. Does it mean something, or I would probably think about rebranding it. Yeah.
Awesome question, by the way, and branding is very important because people will remember, identify your brand. I'll come to you, and I'll come back to you. One question that I want to ask, and I'm seeing a similar trend with each person. How do you pitch? What is the proper steps that, and it's peculiar to each person, but to give everybody a general step-by-step, formula that they can kind of take and modify to help them better, pitch to an investor or a person like yourself?
How much time do we have left? I can see if I can pull up my...
Romano says, don't worry, let's do it.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I have an example pitch deck that we use for workshops. And
Can we look her up?
Oh, because I have a... Oh, what is that, a Surface? Yes. My Surface is in my backpack. Never mind.
I can write.
Okay.
I can write it while you're talking.
Well, the very first thing is there's a book. It's an ebook, just a PDF that you can get. No, it's in my Dropbox. That's why I need to be on my computer. So there's a website called not a website, a ebook called Venture Hacks, and it's free online. We send this book to all of the entrepreneurs. Venture Hacks. Hacks.
Venture hack?
Hacks, plural. And it's from the Hacks, like hackathon.
Oh.
Hacks, CK. It's from the founders of AngelList, and so it's a really easy read and short read. So I know everybody's busy, so I try to keep things short. Okay, thank you. I have an error. Make sure that that should work. So Venture Hacks is a great book to read, and one of the key things is developing a one-liner. So that's the very first thing that you need to do. One-liner is basically describing your business in one sentence. The example they give is okay. The book is kind of old, and so the example they give is saying you're like X for X, which is we are Uber for Suriname. But I'm not sure if that is necessarily... Okay, let me unplug it because I don't know what's up on my computer first. I'll plug it back in once I get to it. I don't know, in the States, nobody pitches like that anymore. So basically investors got sick of hearing I'm X for X. But it's a very good way to start because it makes you kind of whittle down your idea into something super simple so that you can get to the full sentence. So that's the very first thing, is developing your one-liner. The second thing is developing a pitch deck around that. So everyone in here is very smart. I'm sure you guys have all kinds of market data and information. All you really need to do is plug all that information into a pitch deck that is story-based. So if you are,
What is a pitch deck?
a pitch deck is, everybody in here knows what a business plan is, right? We don't use business plans. So business plans are something that's very, very formal. In Silicon Valley, we use basically a PowerPoint presentation. It's called a deck or a pitch deck. It is no more than 10 to 12 pages. It is at a very high level what you need to send an investor. So if you meet an investor and they're interested about your idea, then you say, okay, I'll send you my deck. There's two different types of pitch decks that you need. The first type of pitch deck is something that's very visual, which you'll see when I pull up. And that's something that you would use kind of in this format if you're up pitching someone, maybe you're at a pitch competition. The second version, it's still very visual, but there's a little bit more information so that the investor can go through it without you. That's very important. Most of the times that you'll meet an investor, like sometimes you'll get an opportunity to actually pitch them and tell them about it, but most of the times they're gonna wanna see something after, and so that's when you send them your pitch deck. So let me see if I can pull this up.
Telling me that wasn't a question everybody had. All right? I know it's going to help a lot with formulating your idea and getting it ready for investors to evaluate. So while she's pulling it up, your first liner, right? If I take Music's business, for example, helping people who have substance abuse. Think about a platform that is globally known for substance. What do you think about if you think about substance abuse? Where do you go? Second Chance, Help? What's it called? What's the place here that people go to get help? Huh? The STEM, right? The STEM is the place you go to get help, okay? So then a one-liner to identify, because you need to, investors have no time. They hear a million pitches. They want to get you straight to the point. What do? Well, we are two STEM, just use example, for recovering Surinamese addicts. It puts it immediately, okay, this is the industry that you're in. This is what you do. And then they may ask you, well, explain more. Then she's going to show you exactly what you mean. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's no clicker here. So
I'll click and then you tell me.
okay. Next slide is, I can send this out to everyone also. We give this to our founders, but basically what this is, it talks about at a very high level all the elements of a good pitch, and it gives examples. And then there's a sample pitch at the end. So if you want to kind of run through it, basically we kind of talked about this yesterday. The goal is to actually persuade someone to do something with your pitch. Next slide. So start with the problem is first. What problem are you actually trying to solve? A lot of times people, they're not really trying to solve a problem. They're trying to do something cool. The companies that are really successful that you guys read about, they're solving an actual problem that people are experiencing, which is why I think this market is ripe. That's why I was saying there's a lot of opportunity in this market because it's underdeveloped. So people have a lot of problems that we don't really have in the States. Next. There's quotes in between, so no. I already said that. All right, tell a story. I mentioned this before. So telling a story is most important because what you're really doing is making an emotional connection with the person. So whether that's a large audience, whether that's a potential partner, a potential advertiser, or an investor, everybody is human. So the power of stories is irreplaceable. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sad story either. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that is really gonna tug at the heartstrings, but it has to be something that is relatable. Like, you really have to touch on something that's relatable that people have experienced. A good example is, well, the video that you guys saw last night, two entrepreneurs, really great stories, right? Those were a little bit, especially the way that it was produced, it kind of really made you feel like, oh my God, this is amazing, these people were able to do this. Someone counted these people out, and now, you know, they're successful. So that's one way of doing it. I had a founder who, actually Dweller was working on a platform that basically simplified the real estate process in the States. So, you know, there's a lot of different paperwork. You have buyers, you have loan originators, et cetera. How he started out his pitch was he actually had a picture of like a 2-year-old crying and pulling their hair out. And that's how he started out his pitch, was, do you ever feel like this at work? So the image that he used, and then also the words that he used, created an emotional response in people. Like, I remember when I had, you know, a table, you know, my desk was full of papers. I've experienced this before. So that's what you're really trying to get to. Find your voice. This is very important as well. Talked about this yesterday. Don't be something that you're not. In Silicon Valley, there are a lot, at least there was a trend of entrepreneurs really trying to be the next Steve Jobs. And they would present like him, like everything was like him. But nobody can be Steve Jobs with Steve Jobs. Like, don't even try to be Steve Jobs because you're gonna fall short, right? So basically just be yourself, find your own voice. Don't try to be something that you're not, especially when pitching. Sometimes when I give these talks, I'll give advice and then I'll see it tweeted on social media and I'll surprise myself because a lot of times I forget actually what I'm saying because it's second nature. And I saw a quote that I did at the Inc. magazine conference, and it said, I'm most confident when I'm myself. And that's true. Like, I was like, wow, I said that, that's pretty smart, but it's true. When you're yourself, you're most confident, and that energy you're gonna give off to whoever you're trying to convince, and that's gonna make them believe in you more. What is this about? Oh, know your time. Okay, know your time. Oh, we have this problem as entrepreneurs a lot, which is actually, this happened at the beginning of this. So entrepreneurs are super creative. We all have these big ideas that we're gonna change the world. And what we tend to do, I do this myself as well, is we get long-winded. And someone says, so what do you do? And you start telling them everything that you're doing now, everything that you did in the past, and everything that you wanna do in the future. Don't do that. Don't do that, especially when you're pitching investors, mainly because investors or even business, anybody who gets pitched a lot, they're gonna zone out. They're gonna zone out as soon as you start talking. That's also why it's so important to do your one-liner. So when someone asks what you do, your response is your one-liner. The purpose of the one-liner is to get them to ask you more questions. That's why you're staying at a high level. Your one-liner should be so powerful that they're like, oh, that's interesting. So they should ask you more questions. So when did you start? How long have you been in business? That's the purpose. So don't try to get it all out at once. It's a conversation, so it's gonna evolve. As long as you pitch your one-liner the right way, they should be asking you a question after. Know your audience. We've kind of been talking about this, so whether you're pitching an investor, a partner, you know, every entrepreneur has an investor pitch deck. I'm not presenting my investor pitch deck here, right? So just know your audience and who you're pitching. Next. Be passionate, I talked about this last night. Passion and confidence, I think, are kind of related. I'm really, really passionate about what I do. And that comes off because, and this kind of goes back to what Sergio was just saying, it's okay to challenge people that are giving you advice. It is. That's also how a lot of people measure passion, right? I've had a ton of conversations with people, and if it's not right, or if I know I'm the expert in that space, I'll challenge them. I'll say, okay, well, this won't work because of X, Y, Z. In fact, this just happened in the other class we were at before. We were talking about an idea. This is my first time here. I don't understand a lot of how the financial model, financial system even works here. It's okay to challenge people, especially if you're passionate and you have a deep expertise. So next. Be inspiring. This is actually a good one, because I think a lot of people try to be inspiring, particularly because content marketing is so powerful and the power of a story is so prevalent now. People, like, that really moves the needle for people from a marketing perspective. However, I think if you try too hard to be inspiring, it's not authentic. So I actually don't recommend trying to be inspiring, more so being honest. And your honesty should inspire people. Next slide. Oh, be brave. This is a good one. I just wrote an article on this one. You really need courage when you're an entrepreneur. And so it's scary. Even when you're pitching folks, it can be scary. A lot of times you really can't think about everything that you have on the line at all. I'm my best as an entrepreneur when I feel like I don't have anything to lose, because I'll tell somebody no. I'll walk away from something, and I'll be okay with that. So that's when you really get to, I think, your true nature, who you are, as a person. I read, there's this really great YouTube series called Shots of Awe. And a lot of what it talks about is basically higher levels of consciousness, basically. And one thing that he talks about is when we travel to different places, it puts us in a childlike state. So when we're children, we're pretty much free. We change our personalities as children as we grow because people tell us not to do things. People tell us this is wrong or this is right. And so putting yourself in a childlike state and being an entrepreneur is, forget the guy that gave his presentation last night, but he said play. It's a playful type of thing. If it starts to feel too much like work, it's gonna stifle your creativity. You're gonna start to feel really bound. You know what I mean, by a lot. So putting yourself in that childlike state is probably the best advice. You're gonna do things, you see little boys jumping on couches, they don't know any better. They're just saying, I wanna get on this couch and jump off. And their mama's like, no, don't do that. But he's just doing what he thinks is right. You gotta get yourself back to that childlike state. Be ready. This is easy. There's a saying, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So just be ready. You can meet someone. Oh, this is a good example. Right before I came here, we had a partner that we did an event with in Miami the previous year. And great partner of ours, a little bit hard to work with, so we decided not to do the event this year. But I still wanted to support the organization, so I went there to support, spoke on a panel, etc. And this was an event that technically is outside of my industry. It wasn't a technology event. I made the best contacts there that I've ever, well, not that I've ever made, but it's up there. It's top 5 for sure. But I was ready. I met people. I met a guy who runs a hedge fund, $25 billion. And he was like, so what do you do? I told him what I did. We were just at a party having it. I didn't know who this guy was. I had to look him up after. He was like, what do you do? I was telling him about New Me and what we did. And he was like, so what do you need? And I was like a little bit taken back for half a second. but then I had to go in pitch mode. So you have to stay ready. As a result, he's like, oh, when are you coming to New York? I'd like to meet with you. I didn't know this guy from Adam. So you gotta stay ready. Belief. Belief is actually a really important one, and this kind of goes back to the support system that you have around you. For minority communities, it's hard because a lot of times we don't have a support system. And my company knew me. We actually play the support system for a lot of founders. So when I started, I stopped talking to my family about the work that I was doing because they weren't really supportive. They were like, oh, she's working on that idea again. So when are you gonna get a job again? How long are you gonna work on? So they weren't really supportive. So I stopped talking to them about it, and I just kind of kept working. I kept getting signals on my own, oh, this is great that happened, and next week something else great would happen. And that's really kind of what moved me along. I didn't start talking to my family about my business until I was on CNN. And then they were like, man, we're so proud of you. I was like, you know. But it's important to believe in yourself, and when you don't believe in yourself, to have people around you that believe in you. And sometimes that's not gonna be your family. Okay, always be pitching. All right, building an early stage pitch deck. Okay, so we talked about the problem. These are the core, you guys might wanna take notes and start to bullet them. So 1, you need a problem. And again, we'll try to send this out. What problem are you trying to solve? That's what we talked about before. And then you need a solution. So when we go to the example pitch, you guys will kind of see how the problem is outlined. The problem, you should communicate that as a story. That's how you communicate the problem. So for you, for example, you're helping people who are addicted to drugs, right? Or what? Not only that, but that might be one powerful story that you can use. So you might actually, you got 41,000 people on your platform, pick a story, any story that's on there, you know what I mean? No, you should pitch the story. So when you say characteristics, what I'm hearing is features of the product. So, we're not talking about the one-liner right now. So we're talking about the story first. I know we're on the solution slide, which is the one-liner, but I still want to focus on the story. So for him, he has a great opportunity to take the stories that exist on his platform. If you don't have users on your platform yet, develop a persona. Develop somebody that is real and relatable. Use a very real image. But you have tons of stories on there, I'm sure. Those stories are really gonna touch somebody, because the one thing, at least that stood out to me with drug addiction or any kind of addiction, is people had a life before that. You know what I mean? Before their life was essentially ruined. That's really powerful. That's really powerful. Okay, solution. So illustrate your problem with a story. Then you go to your solution. Your solution is your one-liner. So I'm X for X. Yours might be, I forget the name of your company, but you know, we are the largest support community for, it's not just for Suriname, is it? No. We're the largest support community for people who want to change their lives, or something like that. Yeah, next. Okay, product demo. So after you give your solution, it's very important to go right into your product demo next. Because after you give your one-liner, they're gonna wanna know how you do it. Also, this is not a rule. So depending on your product, I might actually recommend something different, but this is a general format. So there's been certain companies that I've worked with, and I say, actually put your market slide here, we're gonna do the product demo here, but the whole idea is that your whole pitch needs to flow like a conversation. When you're up here pitching, it shouldn't be that you're up here pitching and it's a pitch and it sounds like a pitch and it's formal. It should be a conversation. It really should. The reason why I recommend it should be a conversation is because if you structure it that way, you can do that pitch anywhere. You can do it with the deck, you can do it on a stage, you can do it in the bathroom, you can do it in an elevator, you can do it anywhere. All right, short product demo. Product demo back 10 minutes, 3 minutes? Good gracious. Product demo is 1, 2, 3. Don't go too long with your product demo. We do XYZ, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's important to do 3. Very rarely I recommend doing 2, but it's very important to hit the high features. So we're a community, we provide dedicated support, and we make recommendations, for example. Market, go back to market, back one. Okay, market is simple. Everybody should have their market data here. For market data, do not display it like, don't get too heavy on the words here. They need to know one big number, and that's the market opportunity. Whether that's in dollars, billions of dollars, or if that's in number of people that you can reach, or market share. Competition, always have competition. It's a red flag if I meet an entrepreneur who says he doesn't have competition. Next. Business model. If you're a for-profit business, you need to at least think about how you're going to make money. For investors, that does not mean that it's necessarily going to work, right? Because again, as entrepreneurs, we're always testing stuff out. Just because you get an investment, that does not mean you stop testing. If something's not working, you're still going to have to pivot. What an investor wants to know is how you're thinking about solving the business model. Oftentimes, you might have a business model early on that doesn't scale, and you still have to pivot. So again, they're using this to see how you think about the model. Team. Team is actually important. It's better to have more than one person from an investment standpoint. People want to know that someone else is invested in the business with you. And also, as a CEO and founder, what they're really gauging is how you're able to convince people to join your team, to get on the bandwagon. You don't necessarily have to have formal education to validate why you're an expert at this. Your experience could be because one of your family members was addicted. That qualifies as experience. Next. Oh, the ask. You just gotta ask for what you need. So I told you about this story when I was in Miami and I met this guy. He said, what do you need? Don't be scared to ask for what you need. And you have to be confident if it's $1 million, if it's $2 million. Also, it's not necessarily money as an entrepreneur. Depending on the investor, sometimes that rubs them the wrong way. So you might wanna say, well, we actually really need help with scaling. We have 41,000 people on our platform now, and we don't know how to get into Suriname, which is one of our target markets or whatever. So it's okay to ask for those things as well. Tips, I'll send you guys this. All right, resources, example pitch deck. Okay, this is a very old business that I was working on. So we're gonna kind of run through this so that you can see, and I'm going to point out what screen is what, and you'll also see how I've moved some information around on here so that it can make sense and flow in a story. All right, next screen. So this is my title screen. This is what the company is or was, my name, next screen. I started out with the team slide. The reason why I started out with the team slide is because it was important to bring to the forefront at the time my background in design and user experience. Next. So this is the story. So you would normally start with the story. So this talks about a girl. Most people don't really look like this in real life, right? When they're looking for something to do. Next screen. They actually look like this. They're out talking to their friends. They're doing stuff, right? So what I'm trying to do here with these two screens is make it relatable. So I'm talking to the audience so that they can relate. Yeah, this is not really me, or yeah, I actually look more like this. Next slide. Now I go here and I set it up. I didn't have any users or anything, so I used a persona. The persona here is Mark. So I'm setting the stage. This is what he likes to do. He likes to travel. He likes dim sum. And he hates sifting through reviews. So this is probably my most emotional screen. So remember I talked to you guys about pulling at the heartstrings a little bit. Yeah, this looks really stressful. When I'm looking for stuff online, there's a lot of ratings. I hate going on Yelp, ratings overload. So most people in the States can relate to this. They're like, yeah, it's always hard for me to find something to eat or something to do. Next screen. So here, again, I've changed the format for this specific business. I talk about everything that exists. So I actually move my competition screen up. Everything that exists. Oh, they're familiar with Yelp, they're familiar with City Search, and I set the stage on how we're different from them off top, because I know people are gonna ask me, or how are you gonna compete with Yelp? How is this different? So I set the stage off top. I'm not trying to hide anything, I'm being very direct. Next slide. This is my solution. We do blank for blank. Q connects what you like online with what you like in real life. That's it. So when you say that, someone's like, oh, really? So how do you do that? Next. So now I have my product screens. First step. This is, we recommend a space. Next step. Then we make recommendations. Next step. And then you can modify the recommendations in your profile. Next. And then you get push notifications when you're in a geolocation that has something that might match up with your interests. Next. And so that's it. Then I close it out with the persona. And so this is actually how the product actually helps and works for Mark. Next slide. Okay, so this is very, I think this might be important for this market. This is the ask screen, but what I've done here is actually, I haven't just asked for whatever, $300,000. I've actually listed what my milestones are. So people want to know what you've accomplished. So yes, I'm asking for $300,000, but here's what I've done already. I think that's it. Last slide. That's the last slide. So that's about it. We can try to send this out to folks. I'm sorry this had to be so rushed. I know you guys probably have questions after this, but.
Wasn't that good stuff? Most startups fail in how they deliver their message. They spend hours and hours working, but when the time comes, they fall short. That's why this is so crucial. I hope you learned something. We'll definitely reach out to T-Mail. We'll provide this information to them and reach out to email her. You have an email too, right?
Yeah, Angela at newmeaccelerator.com.
Boom, there it is. All right, thank you so much for your time, guys.
I'm gonna start calling people out if they don't move. So.
Vooraan, dan kunnen we hebben we gewoon meer contact met elkaar. Dus het is niet zo, weet je, formeel. Het gaat om de interactie. Oh. Moet ik een tool zetten? Nee, sorry. Vooraan zitten. Kijk hoeveel plaats.
Ik heb een vraag.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, ik ga niet met die camera doen, maar niet zo lastig.
Is the camera nodig voor de livestream?
Is die nodig voor die camera?
Of live livestream?
Oh, moet het wel? Oké. Nou ja.
Oh ja, ja.
Alright. Even op die goede. Oké, goedemorgen iedereen. Mijn naam is Miguel Rodriguez en ik ben de CEO en founder van Apura Networks. Het idee van deze sessie, trouwens, jullie hebben de vorige sprekers al gehad, maar we weten nu hoe zij het hebben gedaan. Ryan en ik doen het very down to earth. We willen gewoon ons verhaal met jullie delen. Onze successen, maar ook aangeven hoe moeizaam en ook de foto die wij hebben gemaakt, ook met jullie delen, of tenminste. En vervolgens een Q&A, ook jullie aanhoren wat jullie ideeën zijn, jullie achtergrond en et cetera. Ik zal het heel kort hebben over Apura Networks. Apura Networks is een networking en crowdfunding platform gericht op Surinamers en Suriname-liefhebbers worldwide. Ons networking component is echt gefocust op Surinamers worldwide bij elkaar brengen. Ik bedoel, wie heeft een Surinaamse of familie in het buitenland? Hier. Ja toch, dat is eigenlijk een hele domme vraag. Oké. Maar zo zitten Surinamers in China. Ik ben nu met de jonge Giorgio Moses bezig, zit in Shanghai. Komt uit Marowijnen, Albina. En hij doet het echt heel goed in Shanghai. In Zwitserland ken ik Hein Montpellier, is een bankier die miljarden beheert. Houdt van Suriname, komt uit Nikeri. In Amerika zit Ryan en zo heel wat mensen. Natuurlijk in Suriname en in Nederland het gros. Dus ik wil gewoon met Apura Networks één online platform hebben of bouwen waarbij we deze doelgroep genetwerkt hebben. En vanuit dit vertrekpunt eigenlijk crowdfunding doen, want crowdfunding is echt een mechanisme waarbij we gewoon met de crowd samen projecten funden die impact hebben en toch wel mensen voor voelen. Weet je, het kan non-profit zijn, maar ook een creative of commercieel project waar je wat voor terugkrijgt. En tot nu toe is het goed gegaan. We hebben €22.000 alvast gecrowdfund dit jaar. 9 projecten en we willen gaan uitbreiden. Dus that's me. Ik wil graag het rondje dan doorgaan. En dan... Oh, oh ja, oké. Alright. Nee, dan gaat Ryan.
Okay, so my name is Ryan Kopinski. I see some familiar faces from last night, so I'm going to keep it short. I'm doing my PhD in robotics at Florida State University, and when I'm not doing that, I'm working on my startups. That's really my passion, creating some cool stuff. I think it's really important to understand what your specialty is, what your expertise is, and really focus on that. In school, we usually learn, hey, you have to work on your weaknesses. You have to improve your weaknesses. Your weaknesses will never be your strengths, right? It'll never make you shine. While being aware of your weaknesses, you should really focus on your strengths, right? That's your number one thing. What I want to do is just raise your hand if you consider yourself an entrepreneur. If you just raise your hand if you think you're a business person. Raise your hand if you think you're a coder. Raise your hand if you're creative. Okay. Everyone's creative in here, right? If you don't raise your hand, woman, woo, okay. Everyone here is creative. Okay, that's important because to be an entrepreneur, you definitely need to be creative. I have a lot of respect for Brian, Angela, Miguel. not because they make money, but because they're creative. At the end of the day, that's all it's about. So what I want to do is just to start off, I want a lady in the room to ask a question. Not a guy, but a lady. And there's reasons for that. So who wants to go? You better step up. Well, yeah, it's a question itself. So what we're here to do is to really engage with you on what we learned from working on our ideas and our startups. So it's how do you get started? How do you know when an idea is crappy? How do you know when you have something special? What if someone else is doing the same thing? Should I continue? Like the questions that you don't really hear from everyone. You always hear the success stories. You always see the Steve Jobs. But no one shows the struggle, right? So any question, after, I'll get you. Okay, so you already asked your question, so I'm going to go to her. You wasted your time. My bad. Okay, let's go. We'll get you, don't worry. we'll get you, don't worry.
Okay. I want to know how important you find it that every entrepreneur knows how to code.
Okay, I should get, yeah. Okay, so I'm a coder, right? That's really what I do. So I'm maybe biased, and I'm going to give it to Miguel after that for him to give his opinion. Personally, I think it's easier to be a coder and then to become an entrepreneur after that. Why? Learning how to code is crazy hard, right? It's a struggle. Everyone that knows how to code knows it's an uphill battle. It's hard to learn. But learning business, I think, is easier because you only have to learn as much as you go along. For example, say you have an idea, right? And you code it up. You don't need to know how to raise $1 million until you need to raise $1 million. But you need to know how to create the product, right? So business, at any point in time, a business will present its problems. And those business problems only become problems when they are problems, right? So you don't need to know how to, have like a publicly traded company where your stocks, where you have aandeelhouders, for example. You don't care about that. You don't even have 5 employees, right? But you need to build a product. So I think it's easier for a technical person to learn the business skills than for the business person to learn the technical skills. Usually, the best thing is that you have one co-founder that is really business savvy, my friend here, and then one co-founder that is really technical. And I'm pretty sure Miguel is also very technical. So he worked for IBM, but he has the business insight, right? So it's good that you have a team. Giano is a great person. Sergio is a great person. Together, they're amazing. By themselves, they would be, but like, you need complementary team members. That's really my answer.
Ik ga gewoon Nederlands praten. Om antwoord op je vraag te geven van oké, is het belangrijk dat als je als oprichter een coding skills hebt? Nee, ik vind van niet. Als je een online start-up wil, zoals ons, vind ik het ook niet. Ik vind het veel belangrijker dat jij die obsessie, die passie hebt voor jouw idee en daar gewoon vreselijk veel in gelooft. Dat is het belangrijkste. Ik heb een paar vrienden die heel goede coders zijn. En soms vraag ik ze van, man, als ik jouw brain had, weet je hoeveel ik zou kunnen doen? En dan zeggen ze, oh ja, maar weet je, denk ik van, dus als ik kon coden. Maar toch doen ze geen dingen. Weet je, ze verkopen hun skills en dan krijgen ze echt de hoge uurtarieven, noem maar op, in Nederland dan. Dus ik denk dat het veel belangrijker is dat je gewoon als ondernemer gelooft in je idee en gewoon vreselijk echt ervoor gaat, maar wel het juiste team om je heen hebt. Als je inderdaad, je hebt een code nodig. Weet je, en als je die persoon niet als teammember hebt, weet je, probeer dan afspraken te maken van oké, wil je aandelen of wil je dingen, kunnen we je betalen op een andere manier. Tuurlijk heb je die persoon nodig, maar vaak genoeg zie je dat het belangrijk is dat je echt een trekker bent en nooit opgeven. Dat is het voor mij.
Ik heb ook een persoonlijke vraag voor u.
Ik hoop niet dat het te persoonlijk was. nee, ga je gang.
Ik zie dat u een fantastisch team achter u heeft.
Oh, sorry, geen u hoor. Ik ben misschien jonger dan. Dus dat is alvast te persoonlijk. Ja,
Ja, ik zie dat je een fantastisch team achter
ja man,
je
zeker.
hebt.
Ja man.
Ik zou willen weten, hoe heb jij ze kunnen aantrekken?
Hey.
En dus heeft u ook moeite gehad, dus in die periode dat u bezig bent, want ik ken u al een tijdje,
Ja.
ik hoor u al een tijdje praten over Apura Networks. Heeft u ook struggles gehad met teamleden aantrekken en wat waren die?
Ja man, hoi. Nog net geen vechtpartijen. Maar kijk, het hebben van teammembers. Een teammember, ik heb nu bijvoorbeeld Jordi, is mijn rechterhand. Jordi kan ik wel eens vermoorden, hij mij ook. Weet je? Het hebben van een team is net als een relatie aangaan met iemand. Weet je? Weet je, you marry your team members, zeg mij ook in Startup World. Omdat ik het eigenlijk de meeste tijd doorbreng met mijn team. In plaats van mijn privé, mijn vrienden. Mijn vrienden zie ik veel minder dan mijn teammembers. Zij zijn mijn vrienden geworden. Om antwoord te geven op je vorige vraag van aantrekken. Nou, met Apura heb ik toch wel het geluk of dat ik mensen gewoon heb verteld. En ik ga nooit op iemand afstappen van, hey, Ryan, joh, wil je Apura joinen? Nee. Oh, really? Oké. Weet je, maar ik leer iemand kennen, weet je, je ziet van, wow, deze persoon heeft echt een great mind. Weet je, great drive, goed karakter, is in balans met zichzelf. En dan ga je praten van, hey, ik ben met Apura bezig, we doen dit en dit, wil je me een keertje helpen? En wat ik heb gedaan, ik heb ze altijd, dus mijn huidige team, empowered om dat Apura hun ding wordt. Een soort van inception. Weet je, plan the idea en het wordt hun idee. Apura is nu van hun. En het mooie ervan is, soms rennen ze harder voor Apura dan ik. Zodat ik wat meer rust kan nemen nu. Weet je, dus het aantrekken van teamleden is een heel belangrijk ding. Maar het is een proces. Het is niet one thing. Het is net als een vriendschap. Het moet groeien. En dan pas ga je praten over financiële, weet je, zaken en dat soort dingen. Ik geloof niet vanaf day one zeggen van, hey, oké, jij bent teammember. Het werkt niet zo, het moet klikken. Het moet meer dan klikken, het is meer dan een relatie.
So I'll add on to that. I believe that the best way to to mess up a startup is to have a one-night stand with a co-founder. You need to date your co-founder. Not in a literal sense. You need to know them. When you get to know a significant other, what do? You app, right? You WhatsApp or you text. You know, you go out on a date. You know, you get to know them. You don't just jump into a relationship. And, you know, it's the same with business. Because if something were to happen, something bad in the business where you can't move on with that team, you have to dissolve the company. The company's at an end. That's just like a divorce. It's messy. You cannot get out of a divorce without any hurt or any financial loss or losing everything. So be careful, but a team is essential. 3 things that you need in a startup are team, timing, and luck. You have no control over luck. You have somewhat control over people. You know when they're good people, where their character is good for the business, and you have most of the control in the timing. Some ideas are bad timing. For example, Twitter was a podcast company. And I'm not sure how many of you listen to podcasts. It's like a radio show, but anyone can create it, and it's online. Like, I love podcasts. And I listen to this podcast called Startup. And it's about 12 episodes that go through a company, and they pretty much experience how the company is growing and falling, and it's such a great learning experience. But Twitter was 5 years too early for podcasts. Now podcasts are blowing up. So timing is also important. I saw a hand being raised. Mr. Jurgen. Give him mic.
Hi, hier praat Engels.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it's live. Sorry. So, in my experience, it's difficult to form any kind of team. Doesn't necessarily have to be a team for a business. Maybe you want to form a think tank because, you know, from an academic point of view, you want to have influence on the policies of the country and you want to have a multidisciplinary team. But just to find them, and when you find them, to get them excited, you know, all those kind of things, those are, that's difficult, right? And I have experienced that myself. That was just, but I have a question, and that has to do with, it looks as if, perhaps it's only my imagination, but I think it's like that in Suriname, I'm not sure, but it looks as if people, they are in a hurry to start up their company. Like, it should start up in a month or in 2 months or in a year I want to be there. What should be the right timeline for a startup company to say, you know, I am a startup company, I have taken off, I can go to be established. So how long can you be a startup company and not say, oh my God, I'm too long in the period of being a startup, I'm a failure?
I love that question. Amen to that question. And I'm going to use you as an example. Because I think you've grown over time with Apura. And I believe, personally, and he may disagree with me, is that you're only a startup for about 2 years. Okay? A startup is really where you're searching for something that is valuable. You're searching for some idea where people join his team without even having him to convince them, right? They believe in his vision. But he also existed for 10 years. Now, after 2 years, I'm pretty sure that was like a question like, why the hell are we doing this? Right? It's not really working, or it's working but not big enough. And then there's this term called pivot. And I think it's right there too. When you pivot, you use the same team, but you work on a different idea. Maybe a similar idea in a different vertical market, but you work on something else. But you cannot be a 10-year-old startup with the same idea as 10 years ago. Hell to the no. That's a failed company of 8 years and a startup of 2 years. That's what I see. So I love that question because your goal should never to be a startup. Your goal should be a valuable company that either gets acquired by a bigger company or that goes public and creates a lot of wealth for your employees that believed in you in the initial phase where you can pay them. And I'm going to hand it over to you now.
No, I don't disagree and I agree with you, Ryan. So, yeah, so Jurgen, from my point of view, as Ryan said, with Apura, indeed, we started 10 years ago, but Apura changed. The last 2 years and 3 years in preparation, we really focused on crowdfunding. And I think in a crowdfunding point of view, we are a startup. But on the networking part, we're not a startup actually anymore. But I don't think that Apura would survive if we did not make the step into crowdfunding and just change the business model or added something to it. I think networking alone, we would just cease to exist. So in that point of view, those 8 years or 7 years were not a failure. We learned from it. We tried to grow, but we saw that the market, we didn't have traction, only on networking. So on crowdfunding, it's going really, really good. And we see that now we're going to combine. We're going to change again in 2016. Yeah. Other questions? And please don't, ask there's no stupid question.
Okay.
Only my stupid question.
Okay, thank you. Ik ben Margot.
Ja.
And
Hoi, Margot.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk Dutch and then I'm thinking, oh, I have to talk English, but...
No.
You can ask in Dutch. Okay, good. Ik ben heel erg nieuwsgierig naar je activiteiten van crowdfunding.
Ja.
Wat je strategieën zijn, wat je hiccups waren in het begin, hoe je dat hebt overkomen. En of je crowdfunding nationaal en internationaal gaat.
Oké, het zijn een paar vragen. Even denken. Laten we beginnen met de hiccups. Het opzetten van ons crowdfunding platform. Was dat een vraag?
Ja, je strategieën van opzetten.
Oké,
Hoe je dat gedaan hebt, wat de hiccups waren.
Oké, de strategie van opzet met crowdfunding was het eerste zoveel mogelijk weten. Ik denk sowieso om een van de vragen van wat zijn de eigenschappen die je moet hebben als een oprichter van iets. Je moet ook een subject matter expert worden. Je hoeft geen coder te zijn, maar je moet echt weten waarover het. Ik ben nu 3 jaar intensief bezig met crowdfunding en ik denk dat ik redelijk weet waarover ik het heb, maar ik weet nog niet alles. Dus ik heb zoveel mogelijk gelezen, maar ook mensen gaan bezoeken, ook een netwerk gecreëerd. Of tap into een netwerk van mensen die al established waren met crowdfunding platformen. Leren van hun, hoe zij het hebben gedaan. Weet je, een soort sparringpartner. En toen zijn we vorig jaar begonnen met het opzetten van het platform. Je hebt 2 componenten. Het technisch mogelijk maken. Want iemand moet online een betaling kunnen doen. De gelden moeten op een derde geldenrekening staan. Dus je hebt een payment service provider nodig. Mensen moeten met hun bankrekening kunnen betalen of Ideal. We waren gericht op Nederland. Maar ook met je creditcards. Dus dat moet technisch allemaal goed in orde zitten. De grootste hiccups die we hadden waren het payment platform. Weet je, want betalen online is best wel een secure thing. En we waren afhankelijk van partijen die dat mogelijk maakten voor ons. En het was ook een juridisch verhaal van hoe crowdfunding Suriname. Hè? Maar wie kreeg dat geld in Suriname? En in Nederland tenminste is het allemaal anti-money laundering en witwassen. Dus, en Suriname is jammer genoeg qua bankranking. Laat me dat in het midden laten. Dus we moesten best bewijzen. Ik moest pitchen, wie ben jij, wat doe je. Dus ook een hele due diligence naar ons. Van, weet je. En dat was best een zwaar proces. En de eerste evaluatie is afgekeurd. Dus ik heb bijna, toen ik dat hoorde, je weet wanneer je ineens koud wordt. Hè? En het is gewoon warm. Dus weet je, want al mijn plannen van 2 jaar gingen down the drain. En dus toen heb ik weer teruggebeld. Ik weet niet meer wat ik precies heb gezegd, maar ik denk dat het mijn beste overtuiging preach ooit was. En toen werd ik weer gebeld na een dag. Hey Miguel, jullie hebben de vergunning om het zo te zeggen, dus we kunnen online. Dus ik denk dat juridisch, om dat betaalding mogelijk te maken, dat was het meest toffe. And that's it.
But mensen motiveren om mee te doen met crowdfunding, dat is not, ik bedoel gewoon particulieren die jou funden, dat is not a hiccup, that's not difficult.
Nee. Iedereen kan ons project, een van onze, we hebben nu een live project, creatief project van een Surinaamse fotograaf.
Advice to ask family friends for the initial funding you need to actually find an investor to actually do the pitch.
Let me answer about the friends and families. If it wasn't for my friends and families and myself, Apura wouldn't exist. So I want to encourage all startups or people who want to start a company to look for informal investors or close networks who can actually help you with the funding if it's really needed. I mean, you can do a lot just by bootlegging or simply try to solve things creatively without needing money. But at a certain point, if you need money, I think it's the best way to ask your friends because they know you, they trust you, and they believe in your idea. You know, my family did it with me, even though they didn't understand what the hell I was doing. But so I think if you would ask any investor, he would suggest you go to your own network to find the funding, and then if you proved your idea, go to investors. And I would encourage that if you have a tangible idea. So I hope I answered the questions of that person. And good luck.
Yeah, I both have the privilege to know you guys a little bit more.
Yeah, likewise, yeah.
But I really want everyone else to know, and especially our live audience too, what is the story before Apura Network? What is the story of Ryan and what is the story of Miguel, considering you guys are both Surinamese? And where did everything start? Did it start in school? You know, where did the passion start to just do something? Because as you guys mentioned, this is more than just having an app or creating something. It's doing anything with your life. So I really want to know more about the story of what's behind the product.
Oh, that's a very good question, Giano. Always ask those deep questions. Good question. Yeah. Oh man. Then I would, so that's going back a few years. So the story behind Apura Networks actually was that I just graduated from HTS in Amsterdam. And I was, we were with friends, we all had an engineering background, and we said, man, let's do something great for Suriname, the nationalistisch gevoel, and make money at the same time. And we all wanted to go into mining, actually, set up a mining company because mining is, quite powerful. But we really soon realized that mining is capital intensive, just like you need $1 million just to breathe. So we said, okay, what about networking? Because we saw that our Dutch medestudenten, fellow students, all had networks, friends or their dads had in banks. But we saw that we lacked, as Surinamese students abroad, the network that you need to set up a business. And that's how Apura Network started. And that's how I was the tech one in the team, so I started with a website, things like that, a kind of Facebook back then or LinkedIn in 2004, 2005, and that's how it all started. And we really loved the whole concept of being together and doing something with Suriname, but also setting up your own business. So that's the story behind Apura. Yeah.
So the story for me, believe it or not, I think in the 5th grade of Freya School, I went to the Freya School, I had a 4 for hoofdrekenen. And it destroyed me, like I sucked at it so much. And then so my dad told me, you're not gonna get better by cheating. You're gonna get better by hard work. Because you can cheat the system, but then when you go work for an IBM or for an Apple, you're not going to be able to get away with lies. So I think the environment that I was surrounded with really made me a better person. For one, my parents, right? They always told me, be a good person, give back. Hello, okay. Yeah, probably. But yeah, so anyway, it's really the environment. And then I actually graduated. I think there's just like this award for Glow, and I actually graduated really well. And I had for Hoofdrekenen, I had a 10. Just because I busted my ass trying to learn it. And now math is so natural to me that, you know, I can integrate anything pretty much in my head. Like it feels so natural. And I think the engineers among us really understand what it means. Like you have a gut feeling of what it is to do math. And from then on, I knew, you know, like, yeah, you can kind of game the system. Yeah, you can have hacks. You can have a recipe for, I mean, if you go online and you do a recipe to become a millionaire, there's a gazillion ways to do that. None of them work, right? Because at the end of the day, it's finding your own recipe to make something work. And I found a recipe. I found that if I work on something that's really valuable or cool, and I share my story, people will like it, and people will use it. One example was I created an app for Google Glass, which pretty much I blew all my savings. It was $1,500, and I literally spent every dollar I had. I was red on my credit card because I was like, okay, Google Glass, I was one of the first 1,500 users for Google Glass worldwide. And I was like, okay, if I can create an app for this that has 0 apps, I may become a big winner out of this by being one of the first. I failed because Google Glass is now not being sold anymore. But it was a gamble. And that becomes addictive. The fact that you create something, it miserably fails, but there's a slight chance of succeeding. Like the crowdfunding, the equity-based crowdfunding is so appealing to me because you can fund companies in a whole different way. The chance that it succeeds is probably 1%. But that 1% is so much worth it. Like, hell yeah, I'm going to work on that 1%. So it's really, I think the environment you're in matters. The friends you have matter. Giano is my friend. Miguel is my friend. Sergio is my friend. Brian is now my friend. Angela is now my friend. If you see a trend, we're all really entrepreneurial. We're all really like progress-driven. So surround yourself with good people. You know, listen to your friends, listen to your parents, but also have a conviction for yourself of what it means to be the best you. Don't try to be someone else. Be the number one you. And that's really why I'm sitting here now, I guess. Any other questions? Maybe ask questions to the audience. Yeah, of course. I have a question, so I'm going to pick on someone. Let me get up, because I've been sitting the whole morning. What? Why are you here? Yes.
So, my name is Jaya. I study ICT, Information and Communication Technology, and I heard about this. And I wanted to know more about Silicon Valley. That's why I came.
And I think Angela will emphasize this, that Silicon Valley is like the mecca of startups, but it's also a bubble. Because I'm not from Silicon Valley. I'm from Tallahassee. Do you know where that is? No. It's the capital of Florida. Who knew? Right? Everyone thinks it's Miami or Orlando. It's not. Jano is from Miami, and he's doing big things. Right? So while you're here to learn from Silicon Valley, I think the message here is that anyone can really do it. You know, I got a 4 for Hoofdrekenen, but I graduated with a 10. Right? It's hard work. So I'm glad you're here. Why are you here?
Well, I'm currently one of the innovators at T-Mill, and they approached me with this. They said, "Funny, we're gonna have a couple of experts from America to come talk to you." Okay, very smart people then. Okay, come talk to us. So I thought they can help me with my ideas so that I can succeed with my startup. That's why I'm here.
Yes. There's another question. Okay.
There's another question from outside. The question is a follow-up question. It's like, So you should tell your ID to all kinds of people, but how do you make sure you protect your business ID and do not let others walk away with your business ID? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a default one. Uh, yeah. Huh? Okay. Yeah. So especially with crowdfunding, that's a, yeah, I wouldn't say a disadvantage of crowdfunding. It's called copycatting. You know, this really cool and the logo I really love because you see this black cat. It's like copycatting the logo for you know, stealing somebody's idea. I think yes. Okay, ideas are worth, you know, are amazing, and it's where it all starts, the spark. But I think that the execution really makes the difference. And okay, ideas are fragile because, you know, as a person you think it's all in your head, and you see the whole vision before you, and if you pitch it to somebody, that person doesn't have the imagination to see the same thing as you. And I think it's better to share ideas if it's a good idea with maybe close friends, and then work it out. I believe in executing an idea. That's where the value starts for me. You know, working it out, making a prototype, putting it online, or making the first one, and then telling it to a greater audience. So you have an advantage already. For myself, I think that everybody can start a crowdfunding platform, but I'm just happy if they would do it, because then I know that, you know, all the struggles, all the headache, even if they have millions, if they would do the same thing, the crowdfunding for Suriname, hell yeah, go ahead. You know, then, you know, I want to help you because, you know, so many problems along the way and hiccups. So I don't think that people should be scared to keep their idea for themselves. I would just advise or recommend to be careful. Share it with close friends. Work it out at the same time. You know, Ryan also talks about fast execution. Let that be your leverage. Execute it, work it out, you know, create a prototype, and then go on. Yes, of course.
So when you have an idea, you're gonna have to share it. You're gonna have to tell the story. I mean, there's, you know, keeping it in a box, like our friend in the other room, you know, the small box and the big box, you cannot keep it in a box. Now, I'm not saying that you should give away your magic sauce. That shadow should stay right by you. Okay, so my friend Miguel is really into crowdfunding. That lady over there asked a question about strategy. I'm quite sure that Miguel is not gonna tell her everything, right? Because he did not just work 3 years to tell everything for free. So in business, while you have to attract people with the story, any story that I tell right now, some parts are missing. And if you wanna know those parts, you will have to be my co-founder. And I do not do any one-night stands.
I just have a question for the audience. Can you please raise your hand if you really have an idea you really, really believe in? But only raise your hand if you really believe it. Okay. Oh, well, that's quite a few people. Yeah. Yay. Okay, so. Yeah, no, great. Let's talk. Let's talk. So can you please raise your hand high again, the persons? Okay, that's a lot. Okay, and for all of you, have you done the execution? Have you created something with it? Have you done something with it? Okay, is there a prototype that we can see? Okay, hey, I'm proud of you guys. That's great.
Does anyone have a prototype on your phone?
On the internet, okay.
Is that computer we can use?
Okay.
What's the website?
It's being built by partnering with Chef for the prototype. Sorry. Yeah. The prototype is Paisa. Can you type it in? The URL? Okay.
Okay, so the remaining people, do you have, so this just a small idea, the remaining, can you please raise your hand if you just have this, okay, medium idea. Small idea, not sure about it. Okay, so why is that? Why don't you, does it still need to, hoe zeg je, ripe? Okay. Okay. All right, but for those who really believe firmly in their idea and they have done some steps already, I think you're on the right track. Just go on and execute.
And also a tip. This might sound silly. Buy a Mac.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a long time.
I actually have an old prototype from 2011. That's how long I've been busy with it. And a new one that's been updated last night. The newest, okay. Paisa.
Oh, Paisa is
Dot
betalen toch? Of geld?
money, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dot adapt. No, dot SR. SR. Dot adapt dot SR. Yeah. Adapt.
.sr.
Yeah.
Paisa, haal meer uit uw mobiel. Ja, man. Okay, so Ryan, can you tell us about this?
Yeah, just it's a marketing platform. You can register, give some information about your age, where you live, what district in Suriname you live in. Yeah, it's a prototype. It will probably be, yeah, more or less information will be asked about the person registering. And if you register, you can, yeah, earn money by receiving advertisement in the categories when you registered, you told Paisa you are interested in. And that way you only receive advertisement in what you're actually interested in while receiving money for it, Paisa for it.
Okay, just some advice. If you weren't here, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to share your story, I couldn't. Because you had to explain, which is a great idea, you had to explain what this is. Your website needs to explain it clearly and simply.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you my information if I don't even know what I'm signing up for. And what I'm going to do now is what we all should do in the startup community in our growing ecosystem. I'm going to give the mic to someone who raises their hand so they can give you feedback on this site. And even if you don't listen, it's good to get feedback. So who wants to get feedback? Man, I know I'm going to pick.
You're paying me for this. No. I would, it says Paisa, haal meer uit uw mobiel. And if Paisa is from Hindi, then it's Paisa and not Paisa. But you should explain something as in a one-liner in which says what your business is about and what problem is this solving for me as a user. If I give you my email address, like I need to be sure you're not going to spam me with information I don't need. So I would put before I have the sign-up form to put in my email address, I would like to see some information. And if you would make it more visual, like tell me a story about like this is what you need, and that is why Paisa is very good.
Ja.
Als ik het in het Nederlands mag zeggen, als je dus me duidelijk kan maken welke behoefte van mij eigenlijk bevredigd wordt, ga er niet iets achter zoeken. Dus als een behoefte van mij bevredigd wordt door jouw product, dan ga je me eerder zover krijgen dat ik zeg, hey ja, dit wil ik wel. En dan ga ik wel mijn gegevens laten. En dat is hoe je converteert. Want als je iemand gewoon om de informatie vraagt, denk ik niet dat je het krijgt.
Nou, ik heb, in het Engels misschien, I already have a flyer, which, yeah, should convert you to register. I only got it in my email, so from the designer. I can show it to you later. Actually, that asks you, would you like to earn money for free, or get money? And that should be, I think, reason enough to register. Maybe I'm not right, but I think it's reason enough. If you get money, you're already being spammed by on Facebook, unwanted commercials, advertisement. Here you can actually tell what you're interested in, what categories of advertisement you're interested in. Only get those advertisements and get paid for it, just to read them. Too good to be true. It actually is, yeah. Everybody is.
Well, I'm. Let me say, Ryan, I just love it. You know that because I look at it just from a startup point of view. You actually had an idea, you took your time and your effort, you know, and just made a beta version, and that's hell yeah, you know, good for you. And I think that all of us should have that mindset, you know, just to start with a prototype. You know, it's just not an idea anymore. You put it online, and of course, with all the feedback, you know, you're smart enough to tweak the product and make it better. But the first step, I think this is a good example for everybody with an idea, is visualize it and make it happen. Make the first prototype, even if it's crappy or whatever. Oh yeah, okay, that's us. Hey, yeah.
It's visual.
Yeah.
I'm using him as an example because he succeeded. He just raised 22,000 euros, right?
Yeah.
Crowdfunding for Suriname. It works. It shows you numbers. It's appealing. Does it need more work? Oh yes. It always needs more work.
I don't like it actually, you know. I don't like it anymore. It's really irritating for me now to look at those banners. Yeah. Oh, thanks. So, but anyway, that's just my feedback to you. Go on, you know. You're on the right track, but don't forget to tweak. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Person, a persistent person.
Yes. Okay.
A very persistent person.
What's the name? Yeah. What his or her name?
It's a lady.
Okay.
It's a lady. Her name is Nancy. Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy. So basically, she has an idea. She really pitched the whole thing here in Dutch.
Wow.
Yeah. It's so. The YouTube link. All right. She pitched it to me on Facebook, but I can copy paste it and put it there. All right. No, basically she has an idea to build an app that will help tackle a problem in tourism sector. Let's keep it on that because Anders moet ik alles lezen wat ze hier heeft gezegd.
Message him like almost a whole novel.
All right, so I'm only like this part, maybe 30 seconds.
I'm not complaining. Go Nancy,
But anyways, the problem is she doesn't have a mentor. This based on what I read here, she doesn't have a mentor. She gets advice. She is connected with email, but she gets advices. But up to now, she didn't get the real advice that she really needs to get her product
To the next level.
to the next level. And she says, how can you commit a prototype when making the prototype costs money? She says she doesn't has a team. She says she needs a team because she's not financially good in making projections and market analysis, things like that. So this is a typical problem in Suriname, you know, all the ingredients. So I don't know what to...
My advice for Nancy is if she's really serious about her startup, she has to get good at something, whatever that may be. Miguel just spent 3 years researching crowdfunding. That stuff is hard because the legalities, the liabilities, the escrow accounts, it's so much that goes into it. So even if you're not a coder, you need to be good at something because otherwise your idea is not going to be built. I can guarantee you that. She needs to spearhead it. And if she just has an idea, I mean, everyone can have an idea, but to execute the idea is what's important. So if I'm going to write, how much is Nancy's idea worth? What is the value of her idea? For the people that were here last night, how much is Gimtori worth? 0. No, 0. It's not worth anything. Yes, I worked on it for almost a month and a half, but it's not worth anything. Because what is it missing? It's missing users. It's missing messages. It's missing the fun that you get on a platform like that. Right? So your idea is literally, if I may say it, worth shit. It's not worth anything. And what is important is the execution. So anyone can have an idea, but if you don't execute on it, it's worth nothing. So don't be scared to share your ideas because they're not, I mean, if someone steals it, if it's that easy to steal, it's probably not a good idea. Right? I mean, like, it's not a good idea if someone can steal it within an hour. It has to be something good. You need your magic sauce, your shishado. I don't know, for the people that know sriracha, that's the best thing ever. It's like this hot sauce in the US. Oh my God, put sriracha on everything. They have this slogan, put sriracha on my sriracha. That is brilliant. Like, it's awesome, right? But they have a unique marketing angle. They have a unique product. So if your idea is really worth a lot, execute it.
Yeah, okay. And to address also what Nancy, besides what Ryan mentioned about the value of ideas, indeed in Suriname it's not easy because indeed what Derek Curry from Telesur mentioned as well, the ecosystem, we're working hard to put an ecosystem in place for young startups. The funding is not there in place. The coaching, T-Mill is by far the only incubator in Suriname. You know, you're an innovator yourself, so she can come to this gentleman, get some advice, you know, and just start going. But I think, Nancy, you know, set yourself on fire. Oh, not, you know, not like put gasoline. You know what I mean? It's a code on you. You know, it's a code. It's like this code goes like, success is just not a spontaneous thing. You first put yourself on fire like me, and you need to burn, you know, and burn your environment, radiate your idea in your environment, and you know that's a key ingredient for me. And then things will open up for her. But she doesn't. She just needs to put more power into it.
So assume that every single person in this room starts a company today. Only half of us will succeed. No, half a person. Not even one person will succeed in like making $1 billion or making it like $1 million company. startups, 99% of the startups fail because they miss one of the ingredients that, they don't have an incubator, they don't have funding, they don't have a unique skill that maybe Nancy needs to acquire right now. She needs to go and hustle and find a skill that she's good at and start finding partners that have other skills that they're good at. So the ecosystem, I think she needs the ecosystem, and the ecosystem is growing, but there's so many of you that can help Nancy. This guy right here, he could potentially help her, right? Or Phil can help her, or the people from Spang Makandra. The ecosystem really has to help each other. When I'm leaving on Saturday, yeah, you can talk to me on Facebook, but these people are still here. You need to help each other.
And just to add, this is our third group. The previous two groups, I wrote down the people's names and their backgrounds. And I was really surprised by the technical knowledge that people have here. But one observation from Ryan and myself is that they don't talk to each other enough. And I think that's something we need to stimulate in Paramaribo, is that we work together more intensively. This guy has a really great idea. We had some phone conversations. Now I'm in Suriname. I want to, help him out. He can help me out. We can help each other out. We speak the same language. We are all Surinamangs or whatever. So I want to stimulate the working together or talking together, have dialogues like and be open, like, what a stupid idea. Okay, no, your idea is stupid. And fight, have healthy tensions, That's the way to go. Yeah. Any more questions?
Yeah, I have one last question. Suriname has, when I grew up, there were a lot of websites in Suriname I used to go to. For instance, Phil Tefreda, who has SurinamePoku.com, is a great Surinamese website.
Yeah, man.
And usually we
Phil.
all think about apps, but a lot of apps started with a website. Look at Facebook. It all started with a website. So there are a lot of great companies out there, and me representing Pi Data, we want to discover those companies. So, but what motivates you guys is everyone has someone to look up to, a company to look up to. Ryan obviously likes Apple,
Yeah.
Miguel, I know you like Tesla and
Yes.
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan does too.
Yes.
But
Elon
I want to
Musk.
know, what are the local companies that inspire you guys? There has to be some company that at one point you look up to. I know Apura Networks is here now too, so it's definitely a company to look up to. But what are the companies you look up to, and how can you use that in your environment? Another website, bomberman.com.
Very nice.
We like to go out, we like to look at our pictures. So that was I'm guessing it gets a lot of traffic too. But
Exactly.
what are the websites that work here? Like what kind of website inspire you guys? And this is a question for both the audience and you guys.
Okay, let me just first start by answering what companies that really I look up to in Suriname. The first one is Staatsolie. I worked for Staatsolie in 2003 or 2004. When I first graduated, I came to Suriname directly, and I worked for those guys something longer than a year. And that's, their slogan, vertrouwen in eigen kunnen. Man, that's so engraved in my DNA. Because at Staatsolie, I saw that we as Surinamese people can do great stuff. Staatsolie is now a $1 billion company working together. And the great thing about Staatsolie is that they have local people, and also Surinamese people from abroad working together, so they have foreign language. So they work actually local. And that's, building on that strength. So it's a mentality. Confidence in ownability. And a second website I look up to is Star News, because not the design of the site can be better, because I'm quite sensitive on design. I think you should really focus on your design, because don't need a lot of money to do great designs, but the content. There's such a content-driven something. If something goes out or the government does something, it's on Star News. And I really want to compliment, and they're hits. They have visitors I get a not a drone of whatever. You know, those guys' statistics are off the charts. Um, so, man, yeah, you know what I mean. You all know what you mean. Okay, man. Okay. Anyways, it's really amazing. So yeah, those two, and I think maybe Ryan or the audience.
So one company that inspires me is IT Core, and they were represented in the other room. They came in deep, um, and the reason why they inspire me is because I don't want to work for a big company. I never do. Although Apple inspires me is because of their design ethic and the way they build products. But small companies and startups are my inspiration. Now, once I move up from the startup phase, then Google and Facebook or whatever are the role models. So IT Core is a company that I believe in because they're teaching robotics to kids. I mean, that's close to home for me. So that's important. And then a website, Star News is great, but I have an Apple Watch, I have an iPhone 6s. It's like I like beautiful design, and I think that the results that are coming from Spang Makandra, the sites that they push out, it's not really one website. I think they have something with good design. Like it feels good, right? And that's what is important with user experience is it feels good. The reason why I'm saying it feels instead of it looks, when you have a user interface, it's all about looks, right? Where does this button go? Where does this go? When you have UX, which is user experience, it's the emotions that it generates, right? So how does this feel? What is the user? What is the emotion that you get from using the product? And that's what its design is really about. And Star News sucks at that, right? I hate to say it. I mean, you have a great site. You have a great following. The data is amazing that you generate. You have all these fans, more fans than the Watertate on Facebook. I mean, you're killing it. Have some good design, like, work with some good people at Spang Makandra and develop something awesome. So that's really, that's what I think. Anyone that likes website Instagram? Let's see.
I would like to say that one of the innovators groups, Where to Go, I love their website. They just, Where to Go, they're in the other group, but maybe you can put it up, Where to Go, it's lovely to see.
Yeah, just in the search bar. Well, you can just. Oh, here, no? It's already there. Yeah, just there. Yeah, just there. Okay. Windows. Where to go? Oh. So after, hearing 3 sessions, are you convinced that startups are for you or not? Raise your hand if you think that startups are something that you really want to do, like really want to do. Okay, well, I mean, it's obvious that you want to do it. You're building already. I mean, I believe in you. Yeah, I mean, obviously, he just voted for you. Okay, yeah. Question? No, my question is, so after all these sessions, right, and the whole event, hosted by Taylor Sear, are startups for you? Is that what you're supposed to do on this earth? It's not for everyone. So, I mean, yeah, the people who are already building, I'm hoping that the people who didn't raise their hands still consider it, especially the people from FHR. I know you. Business is all about starting your own thing. I mean, if you get a business degree and you go work for someone, you're building someone else's dream. Like, it's cool, but it's not amazing, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure this guy, he always talks about putting something on fire. I think you're a pyroman or something like that. But yeah, so just try it. Is the side up? It's responsive too, nice. Okay, let's scroll down. He's using jQuery and everything too. Okay, let's select so. open it? Oh, it's loading. Sure. So this guy obviously has a polished product. Is the user experience the best? No, I don't know. I haven't looked at it too much, but it definitely looks good, and it makes Suriname proud, right? He just has to have a good team to push it out even further. Okay, that's good. Any other questions? Are we tired? 3 hours is a lot, isn't it? Well, imagine working on something for 16 hours every day. Ba?
Thank you, guys. Oh, yeah, well, yeah. Well.
I would like to thank you all for coming, but I'm not sure if it's luck that we have where to go on the screen, but please, you need to go to have lunch as well with us. It's right here across the room. So the where to go activity is now please to have lunch. Thanks for coming, and we will keep on building on this community we have for the past 2 days. Thank you so much.